Cambridge and with Sean is a Weirding Way Media podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you to Movieland's Black Box Super Horror Sets. Today you will become part of the motion pictures Halloween, Altered States, and Alien. Your host will be the renowned stage and film personality Vincent Price, who will be your guide through this special attraction. And now, Mr. Vincent Price.
Hello and welcome to Cambridge and with Sean, a podcast by two weird guys about the weird things that they like. I am one of the weird guys, Mark Begley.
And I am Ronnie, a.k.a. Skelevator over there on the YouTubes.
Oh, you didn't call yourself weird. You just left me hanging there. Okay, cool.
It goes without saying.
Cool.
It goes without saying.
Now where we're going now today. Got it. Okay. You're the cool guy.
I'm the cool guy. You're the weird guy.
Got it.
Isn't that the dynamic of this show? Kind of like
Yeah.
Abbott and Costello.
We'll see how that plays out with what we talk about today. If people agree, they can leave a comment somewhere.
All the people in our audience are scrambling right now. They're like trying to remember which of us is their favorite character and why.
Oh, God. I can't even imagine. Who cares?
We did get a recent contract from Warner Brothers for a series of cartoon shorts where it is sort of like a who's the smart one, who's the silly one, who's the cool one, who's the weird one cartoon version of Cambridge and with Sean. And so keep an eye out for wait, I said Warner Brothers. I should have said Paramount. Where does Warner Brothers stream their stuff? I don't even know. Is there a Warner Brothers streaming platform?
HBO
HBO Max? So keep an eye out on HBO Max for the new Cambridge and with Sean cartoon that
John Crickfaluzzi is going to draw.
Yeah, John Crickfaluzzi, however you say his name.
Yeah.
And it's produced by the SpongeBob people. And, you know, it's really exciting news. And also, you'll really get a chance to see which is the cool one, which is the weird one.
Absolutely.
You who listen to this show, you already know the truth of who's the real weirdo here.
Yeah, and who has talked about the coolest things. I kind of know in my head who that is too. So
yeah, I kind of know too. It's all based on who talks about the most popular IP, the most popular thing on the show, and we all know who that is.
You royal boob.
So today we have kind of a theme episode, Lost and Found. You hinted at this last time, and I was thinking, I knew I had like 2 or 3 things that I could do that match that. This is a good one, I think, because it's one of those multi-year what was this movie.
Oh, okay.
The way I found out what it was very much like the comic book Ghosts that I talked about way back when. It parallels that very much. So I was like, ooh, I'll do that one and save the other couple that I have for some other time. But that led me to listen to some of the other Lost and Found episodes. In particular, this all had to do with the One Plastic Rock Ball.
Yeah, yeah.
And your rediscovery of the Husker Du song.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned it on one episode. Pretty much found out what it was like the next day after we recorded or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that made me think of music because I mentioned to you at that point, I don't think of music that way. Like, I can't think of a song. What was that song that I loved? They have to reintroduce themselves to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I had that happen within the last couple of weeks as well. I'll get to that. So I have 2 things. One of them's quick, but we'll be starting with your rediscovery.
This is damage control. You can't get them out. The doors are jammed.
Wait a minute. Maybe they can get through the ventilation shaft. I'll try to get the hatch open.
This is one of 2 things that I want to talk about today. The first thing is that sort of lost and found item. And then I thought, you know what? It would be a good opportunity to briefly at the end of this episode talk about how the zeitgeist is in full effect in regard to our interests right now, especially with Comic-Con going on and stuff happening over there that seems to align perfectly with the weird shit that we're interested in. This lost and found thing, it's another one of those situations like the Husker Du Statues song and like kind of similar to your Rockball situation where there's this thing, you remember this thing, it's hard to figure out or pinpoint where the information is coming from, if your memory is skewed, or why am I having a hard time online finding this information? What am I missing from my keyword search that's keeping me distanced from the truth? Did my memory mess everything up? Is it like super? So for a long time, I was wondering about this thing. I was having a hard time figuring out what it was. And part of the thing that was standing in my way, what was keeping the truth of this memory abstract in my search, was that I kept associating it with Universal Studios for some reason. Every time I would type in this search, I would think of it as part of the Universal Studio tour. Because as a kid, my mom's side of the family, if we were going to go down south, we'd go to Disneyland. On my dad's side of the family, if we were going to go down south, it was all about getting the Hollywood map and trying to find movie stars' homes, or going to Universal Studios, and in this case, going to a strange location like the Movie Land Wax Museum. I finally thought, it's funny whenever you and I, we have these ongoing searches. I don't know if I shouldn't say you and I. I'm just going to say from my perspective, because this is always the case for me. As soon as I come up with the right question to ask, I'm always like, oh, no, yeah, duh. I should have just done it this way.
We've talked about that, shaking a different tree or shaking the tree differently. That Beatles book, which was another one of those things, I did it a little bit differently, and it was like, oh, there it is. There it is,
right? And sometimes that tree is right in front of you. A few weeks ago, how can I approach this research in a different way? And then it occurred to me, who was driving us down there constantly, who probably came up with the idea to do this experience, and it was my dad. So texted my dad. He's like, hey, do you remember the black room from when we went to Universal Studios? He's like, no, that was the black box, and it was at Movie Land Wax Museum.
Well, there you go.
It was that easy. Just to backtrack a little bit, for many years, I've been trying to figure out this one memory I had of a recreation of the Alien movie set, where there was an alien creature hidden in one of the grates that, the light would flash on it. There was really cool atmospheric sound. I remember there being like dripping slime or water, even the flashing lights, and is the classic hallway from the original Alien movie, which has been reproduced in really amazing ways recently, like in Alien Earth and in Alien was it not Resurrection? What's the most recent movie?
Romulus?
Romulus. Movies that have really been trying to recapture the original energy of that first film. So I had this memory of us walking through this space. I thought it was Universal Studios. I thought it was some sort of horror movie walkthrough thing. I remember the word black being involved. Was it a black room? I was like, it couldn't be the black box, because that's like, the thing in the airplanes. Like, why would they call it that? That would be confusing. Of course, that's what it was called. The black box experience that was at the Movie Land Wax Museum from 1982 to 1985. And very short lived experience walkthrough at the Movie Land Wax Museum in Buena Park, California. That's also different from what I imagined too, because I pictured every time we went to a wax museum, it was either the San Francisco Boardwalk Wax Museum or the one in Hollywood, which was super, even back in the 80s, it was, I remember these locations being like a little bit weird, a little bit off-putting, and, not quite perfect, not quite, exactly what you were hoping it would be or what you saw in the brochure. Always a little bit disappointing. I think those institutions like Ripley's Believe It or Not and the Wax Museum walkthroughs that are at these touristy locations still kind of are that way, where it's like you pay a ticket to go into this thing, you think it's going to be amazing, and it ends up kind of you feel icky afterward, like you just went to the Fresno Fair. I found, not to downplay the Fresno Fair, because I have a deep love for the Fresno Fair. But
yeah, well, a lot of those, you see images online of the failed wax figures and how this is supposed to be so-and-so, and I'm just like, what?
I think that if you grew up in this, 70s and 80s, you really understand the Uncanny Valley. I think more than any other generation, because there was Chuck E. Cheese, wax museums, all of these things really exploded in the early 80s onto the public market and was really exciting for people. Every time you go, it's like, this is super weird. I don't know if you've ever been, but something I want to talk about in the future is also the Cannery Row walkthrough experience with Wax John Steinbeck and all. It's like, it's crazy too. Anyways, once I knew the keyword search, I dug in. I found a Facebook page. I think the membership is like 400 people or something like that, which is more than I expected. I'm just throwing that number out there. I think that's around that. I found out a lot of information from that group. In fact, I found even some photos that I had to really dig deep to find these photos, and they're not very good. I was hoping that there would be more images online of this stuff, but there really isn't. I've found several versions of the brochure that was released between 1982 and 1985. There are a few different versions of the brochure. They always use the same image. And you're going to see, folks, because we're going to post this on our Instagram, so you'll be able to see images of what we're talking about. For the brochure image that advertised the black box, when I saw that pop up on the screen again, it took me right back to my bedroom, poring over this brochure and just staring at that one particular image. I must have just stared at that image for hours on end. And I actually found a brochure on eBay for $8 that I've been tempted to get.
That's pretty reasonable.
Pretty reasonable. I'm like,
anything under $10 to me is reasonable.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm always hesitant to buy something like a pamphlet, because I'm like, what am I going to do? Frame it? I mean, I'm going to shove it back here behind me, between two books so it doesn't get damaged. What am I going to do? So I've been having other ideas, like maybe I should use a TeePublic account and create a t-shirt of this image. No one's doing this. Like, maybe I should do something like that instead, because the image is absolutely iconic for me. It's a giant black box. It's lit from behind. It's nighttime. It's a minimalist landscape, dark blue or purpley sky, sort of concrete ground, and the box is kind of glowing from behind, and it's black and it's ominous, and light is coming from the doorway, and there's like 5 or 6 people running and screaming from the box. But here's where it gets really interesting. The walkthrough was all over the place, and there were only 3 different rooms that you walked through. So it was a very small amount of space. It was 3,000 square feet, which seems like a lot, but when you think about what was in there, it must have been a little bit squished in. But it had a budget of $1 million.
Wow.
So it was a pretty big budget. They hired Vincent Price to do part of the narration and to be a voice from a coffin at the very beginning. Animatronic coffin that's like shaking, and it's super funny. And I'll send you the audio clip of this, Mark, so that you can sample it. It's really, really great and super cheesy.
Mr. Price. Mr. Price. The people are waiting.
Oh, it seems like I'm temporarily indisposed. Oh, what a shame. I had this beautiful speech all ready for you, but my notes are on my desk. Anyway, it's too dark to read in here.
At the beginning, he's pretending to wake from a nap, because he's in this coffin. You hear Vincent Price's voice emanating from this moving coffin, and he's just waking up to say, I'm unprepared to tell you what you're about to do because I forgot my script and I'm just waking up. Like, that's basically what he's saying.
What does this have to do with Alien is my question.
Well, what does it have to do? Here are the 3 movies that are the focus of this walkthrough. And I totally forgot about the first 2. First, you walk through a Halloween movie set. So the movie Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween. You walk through this little, basically like a bedroom with ominous music, and the pretense is that we are on a Hollywood movie set, but all goes wrong because Michael Myers is real. His wax figurine emerges and it's scary.
How meta.
Yeah, so meta. It's breaking the fourth wall, right? You're on this tour, you're going to a movie set, and the murderer is a real murderer.
Sure.
Sure. I believe it. It's like Universal, the whole premise of Universal Studios. It's almost like they were taking from that.
Mm-hmm.
Then you continue walking through, and here's where it gets really interesting. You enter then the experience of Altered States, the movie Altered States.
Great movie, by the way.
Amazing movie. Super weird choice to incorporate that. That's nestled right between Halloween and the movie Alien.
That kind of makes sense.
I can see why they would choose that too, because there's this sort of sci-fi movie sounds that are happening, and then that gently evolves into the Alien walkthrough. And it's really interesting when you hear the sounds from the Alien walkthrough, you can tell that they were trying, well, actually for all of these things, for Halloween, Altered States, and Alien, they're trying to emulate the familiar sounds of all 3 of these movies without copyright infringement. They're getting close to, but not quite, utilizing or sampling what you would have in the films.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the set of the motion picture Halloween.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Salt Submersion Center. Here we engage in body submersion experiences. Weightless and free, the mind is released from its usual function and is free to explore its altered state.
This is Deck 17. The alien's just gone by. This is 16. He went through here and was last seen in the control room.
To go back a little bit, it opened on June 6th, or there was a ceremony June 6th, 1982, to launch this. Vincent Price was actually there, which is cool.
Wow.
And I imagine, gosh, well, let's see. Edward Scissorhands came out in 88, 89, maybe 90, and he passed away not too long after that. So, he's up there in years when this is happening.
Vincent Price was 71 in 1982. He died in 1993.
They probably paid him enough for 2 months worth of groceries or something to be part of this. So it opened June 18th, 1982, and then it closed sometime during 1985. By then, the special effects, like the sound effects and the lighting effects, were all kind of starting to die off, apparently. And so then they just took some of what they had and salvaged it for a different version of the walkthrough, which would end up being Chamber of Horrors, which would be their Wax Museum walkthrough until they closed shop in 2005. Movieland Wax Museum was kind of amazing when it first opened up. It was really a go-to place. They had a lot of events there. It opened up in 1962 and went all the way through to 2005. When I did this research, I also found home movies from the late 80s into the early 90s. And it was really crazy seeing the attractions or seeing the little dioramas with the audio clips and things like that. Superman, Star Trek, W.C. Fields, Laurel and Hardy. And it really was an emotional experience for me for some reason. I don't know why, but I'm watching these really crappy VHS home movies and getting a little bit choked up. It really sort of touched on some odd, raw emotional nerve for me.
Interesting.
I mean, I do know that during that period of time, I was going through a lot of stuff family-wise, so maybe that's part of it. Ooh, that's weird. Yeah. Even right now, talking about it, I'm getting weirdly choked up.
I mean, I feel like the name sort of sounds a little bit familiar to me.
The Black Box?
Well, Movieland.
Oh, Movieland, yeah.
I'm surprised you found as much as you did.
Me too.
That's kind of crazy, especially knowing that for the longest time you didn't even know what it was and had no idea what to search for. But usually when I try to find stuff, it's like, oh, here's this one thing. Okay, that's it.
Exactly. I mean, once my dad texted me, I think it was called The Black Box, and I'm pretty sure it was at Movieland Wax Museum. Then a treasure trove of things popped up. Now, I'm still missing a lot of stuff I was hoping to find, which was a VHS home movie of a walkthrough of that space. I would have loved to have found that. And I'm not giving up hope because, like me, I'm sure there are other people out there that have a box of VHS tapes in their garage.
Yeah.
That's
tough, though. 82 to 85 VCRs.
Yeah, the only people that had
new and huge.
Exactly. The only people that had a VHS camera or a beta camera, these cameras were the size of a human torso, sometimes with an attachment that would be like a briefcase, like shoulder strap, which would house the brain of the cassette. And it's really a gamble to hope for something like this to pop up. As is in my nature, I'm like any weirdo like us, we keep this little seedling in the back of our brain, hoping that it'll pop up down the line. And so I'm keeping the hope alive that maybe a walkthrough of that will be unearthed someday, or maybe an old commercial.
Oh, yeah.
And this is sort of an opportunity for me to expand. I think I've mentioned this before, but I was severely obsessed with tourist brochures as a kid.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it one time. This sounds sort of familiar.
Anything I could get. We'd go to a hotel, I would go to the brochure rack, and I'd be like, any kind of attraction, I would grab the brochure and just sort of pour over it. I don't have a distinct memory of this, but I do feel like maybe at some point I saw the brochure and was like, what's this? That could have maybe sparked the trip down to Southern California. Well, we had my stepmother, her mother lived in Los Angeles. And so we would go down to LA once every 4 or 5 months to visit her. Maybe it's even less than that, maybe once or twice a year or something. And when we would visit her, we would take these little oddball side trips. A couple times Universal Studios. One time we found George Lucas's house and saw him loading up his old mid-'80s, I think it was like a Dodge Caravan or something, out in front of his front yard. We would do these little LA things.
That's the day, by the way, that he first thought of Jar Jar Binks. He's like, I've got this character in my brain that I want to put in a movie.
You know why?
I'm going to call him Jar Jar Binks. And,
it's because this VW bus drove by his house that morning, and this weird kid was like oogling from the window and probably was making Jar Jar Binks type of sounds. And he just thought, that's what I want to do. That's my future in film right there.
What a lucky day.
What a legacy to leave behind.
Thanks a lot, Ronnie.
You're welcome. So if folks who don't like Jar Jar Binks, you can just blame me.
Yeah. Because you drove by and you said, Me saw George Lucas.
Me saw George Lucas. The world's never been the same ever since then. I feel like there's a lot that I missed out on in the early 2000s when Movieland Wax Museum was closing up shop, because they did a big auction of stuff that was in there. And I feel like that would have appealed to me to go and just witness this. But of course, back then I had no idea that this memory was buried in my brain. It wasn't until like the 2010s that I started thinking about it again. There's this guy associated with it. In my research, I found the name of this guy, John DeCuir, like Cure, Cuir, Decuir. I've just recently uncovered his name. Now I'm interested to see, like, who was this guy? Was he designing dioramas for museums? Was he one of the wax sculptor guys? Was he a movie set designer? Like, that's been my most recent discovery, and maybe I'll have an update in a future episode about John DeCuir.
Did you look him up on IMDb?
I did not yet. That's on my agenda to explain that a little bit. periodically over the last few months, I will jump online and look up information about the black box. And now lately, every time I do, so 2 days ago, I found John DeCour, his name. Whereas previous research, I never found his name. Mm-hmm. I feel like now things are starting to open up for me a little bit. And I've just put a message on the Facebook page, hoping somebody will send photos. We'll see. We'll see how this will evolve. Just like your rock ball, the research and the journey is continuously evolving and blossoming open for us.
Speaking of the rock ball, one just sold this past week.
Oh, nice. So other people are showing interest now.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of them, going back to that old story, there were a lot of auctions at one point and they all sold. All right, we'll be right back after these wonderful messages with my Lost and Found for this episode.
Woohoo!
So as we've talked about already on here and have in the past, that new search term or new point of view helps with a lot of these lost and found things. It helped me with that Beatles book I talked about. It helped me with the Saturday Night Live book I talked about. It's helped with some other things, but there are also the instances of happenstance.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 examples of that. One was the issue of that DC Ghosts comic book that I had been searching for years and had no idea how to narrow that search down. And that was bizarre to me when I think about it, how that came up. I saw a toy skeleton on a card back and swiped through the pictures of that and saw a photo of the inside of the comic that completely set off all the bells.
Yeah.
Could have easily not been looking at Instagram that day or never have seen that image.
Right.
Never have found that toy maker that was doing those, so on and so on. The one that I'm doing today is pretty much exactly the same. And this is a movie that I saw probably, I want to say 14 years old. So I think it's from 1982. This is another thing that we've talked about on the show, action theater.
Oh, yeah.
And or kung fu theater in particular for this case. So at some point in the early 80s, a lot of these kung fu movies that had been made and were being made in the early 80s got bundled up into packages that were sold to television stations. So you could buy a group of movies, and horror, all kinds of distribution companies did these things where they had the rights, the television rights to these films, and they would package them up and sell them. And places like Channel 26 would snatch them up, and then you could play them as often as you wanted, right? Action theater was the spot for horror films, for westerns, the spaghetti westerns, Hammer films, drama, whatever. They'd show all kinds of stuff. Typically, though, Saturday afternoon was horror or westerns, or at some point, they kind of morphed over to kung fu, specifically for a good while. And I would watch them. And my dad would always come in from doing yard work or something, and he would mimic the, awful dubbing where the sound never matches the mouth motion.
Japanese samurai are as brave as the Chinese. I'll use another sword. Please wait for me.
And there was one, really the only one that I have very specific memories of, because it's odd and gross and really landed with me. And then, like with the black box, like with all these other things, I had no idea what it was called, no idea how to search for this when the internet came around. Thought about it, every year after seeing it up until the internet comes around. Then I'm like, oh, maybe I can track down this kung fu movie I saw. Oh, how do you type in searches for these things, right? Which we've discussed.
Gosh, how many times have you written like a search that's like 2 or 3 sentences long because you're trying to include all the details?
Yeah, and those never work.
Never work.
I'll start with my memory of it, even though at this point I know that my memory is incorrect, but it's a part of this. So in this Kung Fu movie, I remember a fight happening in a treetop. So there are a bunch of ninjas or whatever in a tree, and someone down below is stabbing them with a spear, or trying to stab them with a spear. So he's going up from the ground and hitting them in the feet and in the legs and things like that. And I remember one of the people in the tree getting struck by this spear in the thigh area. And then as they're straining to keep their balance or to keep away from the spear, something is emerging from their shorts. Viscera is coming out. They've been hit by the spear, so something is coming out. And I think as a kid, I always assumed it was guts. Because that makes the most sense to me.
Right.
And then after a while, over the years, I think it turned into, well, maybe that was like leg muscle and that strain that you put, is making it extend down. So that's really the only thing I remembered about the movie. And again, how do you search for these things? I think on a couple of the toy message boards where people would also talk about movies, and I noticed some martial arts threads. And so I put, does anybody know what I'm talking about here? And no one responded or anything. Just one of those things that kept creeping up in my brain. What was that movie? What am I thinking of? How could I possibly find it? With streaming and having Netflix and Prime and stuff, I would run across Kung Fu movies, some with very familiar names to me, like the 36th Chamber of Shaolin and One Arm Boxer and stuff like that, and the Jackie Chan films that I remember seeing, but not realizing that was Jackie Chan at the time, his early films. Going, okay, well, I'm going to start adding some of these to my watch list and I'll get around to them. I love Kung Fu movies. It's not something I watch a lot of.
They're so much fun.
They're a lot of fun. I follow somebody on Instagram who's always posting clips, and I'm like, man, these fights are just so amazing.
Sometimes just the cinematography is so dynamic, and it's just like mind-blowing that they were doing this and thinking of these ideas.
Watch their horror movies, too. Their horror movies are insane.
Oh, my gosh,
From the same company. So we've got like Shaw Brothers and Golden Harvest. I knew about these, knowing Dan Davis.
Dan helped introduce
would actually go to Asian supermarkets and rent movies like this. And something I never did in my life. Learning about the companies that made these and stuff. So every once so often would just think about it, try and search for it or ask a question about it. Nothing would come of it. Back in 2021, early 2021, I decided to do an episode of Wake Up Heavy about influences. It was mainly about the things that I would see on TV as a kid, because for someone my age or even your age, that was where most movie watching was actually done. I mean, yes, we went to the theater, but this is pre-VHS for our household, at least. Definitely pre-streaming, pre-internet, blah, 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 early 80s. Most of what I encountered was via the TV.
Absolutely.
Tourist Trap is another one that Action Theater introduced me to that is a lifelong favorite of mine. Some of these other films, I was talking about those kinds of movies. I talked about this story, about my memory of it, guys in the trees getting stabbed and Viscera coming out. Within a week of recording that episode, I had an answer. And I had an answer because of the internet and random happenstance. So at the time, I was pretty active on Twitter. I am not anymore. Still have an account, but I don't go there. So I followed mainly movie people. One of the guys I followed went by the handle Cinema Strikes Back. And I had seen a post of his of, I think, 4 pictures. That's the limit on Twitter. You can only post 4 pictures at a time. And it was images from a Kung Fu movie. And so I clicked on it and scrolled through those images. And I'm like, oh, these kind of look familiar. There were some ninjas on a bridge over a stream or something. And images of ninjas in a field. It wasn't so much the images, but his description for the pictures was, if you're going to be fighting the elements, you better be careful that you don't step on your own nuts or something like that. And I was like, that's weird. I believe I asked him, what is this movie? What are these images from? And he said, 5 Elements Ninja.
The 5 Elements? What does it have to say about that?
The note mentions gold, wood, water, fire, and earth, indicating 5 locations for our warriors to meet there.
What is this, ninja?
I'm not familiar. I know it's a samurai skill.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, okay. So I did a search, saw that it was on Netflix, went to Netflix, opened my account, and saw that I had already put this film on my watch list. Probably prior to even Wake Up Heavy existing yet. I don't even think I put it on there at some point, along with 36 Chamber of Shaolin and these other films. So I watched it. Like the Ghosts comic book and like some of these other things, pretty quickly realized, oh, I definitely saw this back in those Kung Fu theater days. Definitely saw this. So it's about this school of Kung Fu, these kids going to Kung Fu school. I'm like Kung Fu Panda. They all use this. It's always schools that are learning this, and then they've got to go fight people. The 5 Elements ninjas are like I believe the villains in the story. So you have to go through them. It's like a video game. You go through all these until you get to the big boss or whatever. And so it's like earth, air, water, and gold and fire. I don't know why gold is one of the elements, but the gold fight, though, really struck a memory with me. It's these guys with these hats that they remove and spin, and then blades fly out of them. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I definitely saw this movie.
That's amazing.
So here I am anticipating the tree scene, going, ooh,
it's going to happen.
Once they get in that tree, I believe, it's been a while since I rewatched it, but I think the tree scene, there is a tree scene in it, but I believe it happens later than the actual scene that I was thinking of. So what happens is when they fight, and I think it's just one guy, maybe 2, fighting the earth element. So it's on this field, and I think there's like hay or straw or something on the ground. They're walking across this field, and spears start coming up from underneath the ground.
Got it.
And so this guy gets speared in the nuts. And it is his nuts that are coming out of his pants and hanging to the ground.
That's the viscera that you didn't understand. Your young brain is like, what is that?
Yeah. From what I remember watching it and having listened to the episodes this past week or so, it looks like balls. And he fucking steps on them.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. On his own?
Yeah. Well, wow. I mean, they're hanging down to the ground. What are you going to do?
Right. So it's not somebody else stepping on them.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm completely misremembering that, but I feel like I say that in the episode. There is a tree fight, and they do the wire fu stuff, which if you've seen Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, you know about. If you've seen nothing else.
Yeah.
So there is a tree scene. There's a bunch of guys up in a tree, but they're just fighting each other. There's no spears coming down from the ground. So I had completely merged those two scenes together into an almost clear memory of the movie. But yeah, I believe that I actually saw his pictures the day that I recorded the first episode where I was talking about movies from my childhood that I had seen on TV, and then kind of went back and was like, hey, wait a minute, what is this from? And then got the answer. So I had actually I could have known the answer that day when I first recorded, but I did a little additional episode to say, hey, I found this thing.
I mean, that happens, right?
It's a very fun movie. I don't think Netflix has much Kung Fu on there anymore.
Amazon has a lot of that stuff now.
Yeah, Amazon had a lot of it for a good long time. I watched quite a few. They had actually the Shaw Brothers collection, and then it moved somewhere else. And they may have gotten it back since then. Like James Bond and all these other things, they go from service to service.
That's true.
In much the same way they sold these big bundles of movies to TV stations across the country.
Yeah, similar.
Back in the 80s.
Moving around, like nomadic media. I don't know if I brought this up when we talked about action theater last time, but this is reminding me that there's a lost and hopefully someday found Kung Fu movie from that same era that I saw on action theater, that I have this one scene stuck in my brain and I'm just remembering it now, where somebody gets smacked on both temples. It doesn't bruise or bleed, the temples are cracked like ceramic. So there's this 5 is too many seconds. 2-second scene of pa, and then you get a quick glimpse of the temples that are cracked. And then you move on to the next scene. I have no idea what movie that's from, but that for some reason, when I was sitting there as a kid watching that TV, that scene just was burned in my brain.
Weird stuff like that. There's weird stuff like that in those movies, and I love it. And that's actually maybe a little easier for a listener to recognize. Dan Davis, chime in.
Dan Davis, maybe even Jules.
Yeah.
Let us know.
I love that kind of impossible stuff.
The impossible. Like if somebody gets speared in the groin, it would be really odd situation if this piercing of the scrotum would cause the testicles to dangle down so far, like
they would just fall out.
What are those? The paddle balls with the rubber ball?
Well, it's like the truck nuts. It looks like the truck nuts that people have on doofuses have on their trucks, but 3 feet long as opposed to 5 inches or whatever.
Tangential thing here, but whoever created the idea of putting nuts on your truck, they should be honored in some sort of special idiot museum. Like who
almost
thinks
did a spit take?
Yeah, I saw that. Whoever's like, this is a great idea. There needs to be a special place for people like that.
I'm a big boy, I'm a real big boy. I'm a big boy, I'm a real big boy. I got a big wiener and I drive around town. A big old wiener make my mom be proud. I drive around town, got a big old weenie and I drive around town. And my big old truck, I got a big old truck. And I drive around town with my big old weenie and drive around town.
Where we can go like to the Movieland Wax Museum and bear witness to these brilliant ideas.
Great American Heroes, right?
Oh, God.
Remember those ads?
Yes, I do.
Budweiser presents Real Men of Genius.
Real Men of Genius.
Today we salute you, Mr. Footlong Hot Dog Inventor.
Mr. Footlong Hot Dog Inventor.
That's cool. I'm glad you finally found that film and now you can watch that scene.
Yeah, I mean, I found it like 5 years ago now, but...
Yeah, but still.
From probably, like I said, I believe that's a movie from 1982, so the earliest I would have seen it was 83, so I was 14, so not quite 40 years.
Mark's math is off. It was over 40 years ago.
A lot of the reason for that, I have another movie that this happened with action theater or the horror films or anything like that. I wouldn't know what it was. Tourist Trap is an example of one I knew because that movie fucking blew my mind, and I know that I looked at the TV guide to see what it was called.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, like with a good handful of these films that I can't track down or couldn't track down, like I didn't know what the title was. I may have caught it not from the beginning. This was most likely called Chinese Super Ninjas here.
Okay.
It probably wasn't even called Five Elements Ninjas at the time, because that is one of the alternative titles for it in the US. The TV guide may have already been tossed out. We just used the one from the Fresno Bee. We didn't get the TV guide in the mail. And I wouldn't have had any way to log the title in my brain.
Right.
Start it half an hour in and have no idea. They never say the title on screen. So,
right.
Yeah, pure happenstance.
I love it.
In today's story, Elena tried taking a magic potion which she thought would help her. Well, she found out there aren't any magic potions. And you know what? There aren't any magic drugs either. Anytime you take one from anybody but your parents or your doctor, you're taking a very big chance. You're gambling with your health, maybe even your life. Drugs don't make your problems go away. They just create more.
As you know, as a close friend, like I've been sort of trying to navigate this news, not new, but like I have certain interests that come back in waves, like in large waves. I'm due for another Melvins wave at some point because it's been a couple years where I just am reminded about why I love this particular thing. And then I dive in deep. For example, with the Melvins, like listen to every single album that I have in the collection and like really get back into it for a while. So this will happen every once in a while with certain things. I've spent the last, really since 2000, I think realistically, since 2016 until today I've been living deep in Masters of the Universe, and I'm sort of like pulling out of it a little bit, never completely, moving on to other things. And right now I'm like deep in Disneyland, like Disneyland 1955 to by the time Walt dies. So I'm like really invested in vintage documentaries and vintage information about park and the park building aspect, the Imagineers and all that stuff. And on our recent trip to Disneyland, one of the things that really stood out to me is that with interests like this, and Disneyland is like a physical representation of this, with a thing that you enjoy, there's always room for discovery within that thing. Here's another example. I just bought the vinyl album of the Robert Altman Popeye movie soundtrack, songs by Harry Nilsson and Van Dyke Parks. I'm listening to the record, loving it, and there's a song on there that doesn't exist in the movie. I'm like, what the hell is this? What is that? So this discovery of a thing within a thing within a thing that you constantly keep returning to, that's magic right there. And that's like one of the greatest gifts that art, no matter what media, whatever form it takes, be it paintings by an artist or movies by a director. David Lynch is a great example of this. And listening to your recent 3 Twin Peaks episodes on Wake Up Heavy is a good example of this. No matter how many times you see something or engage with something, when you return to it, you're gifted all this new information that was right there in front of you, like the journey of research that we go on. And a good example, too, is you having put the 5 Elements Ninjas in your Netflix watch list prior to being like, oh my God, this is the movie. I love that about our geekdom. I guess the best way to put it, like when we're hyper interested in something, you may think you've extended your knowledge to the furthest extent, but there's always new discoveries to be made. That's magic right there.
And I believe, if I'm remembering this correctly, I had started the film and only gotten a few minutes in. I really wish I would have just watched it because I would have had the discovery on my own. Oh, this is that fucking movie. Oh my God.
That's it. But how close are you to that new information every single time you revisit this thing that you love?
Yeah.
Now I got to go rewatch the Popeye movie to try and see if that song is embedded somewhere in there that I just never noticed before. I used to have these dreams as a kid of my parents' homes, both my mom and my stepdad's and my dad and my stepmom's, their homes. I would have this dream that I discover a new alcove, a new place in the home, like those waking dreams where you're laying in bed and you're half asleep. And then I would, get up the next day and think, oh, well, maybe I'll find it.
Yeah, I've had those.
I feel sorry for anybody that doesn't allow themselves these moments of research and discovery and being open to new ideas within old ideas and seeing things from a different angle. And I can't imagine a life without discovery. Sometimes those discoveries are right in front of us.
Okay, we'll take another break and Ronnie will come back with his second topic. I know you guys can't wait.
Oh, it's going to be so much fun.
Ronald McDonald and friends in the Hamburglar Touch.
Bravo cheeseburgers.
That Hamburglar wishes everything he touches would turn to McDonald's cheeseburgers.
Cheeseburgers?
All right, let's get into it, man. Let's talk about that thing you said earlier.
That thing I said earlier, I literally just moments before we started recording thought this would be a good opportunity to talk about it because it's relevant, because San Diego Comic-Con will have finished up by the time this launches. And so geeks like us, and yes, weirdos like us, probably all thinking about this stuff. One of the things that really stood out to me is that, and I know that we really push this out there and that this is the reason why, that we are the reason why this is happening. NECA is putting out McDonald's stuff now. That's a real big deal to me. I cannot wait to see. And Kid Robot, which is, I think, a subsidiary of NECA, right? Yeah. So this is exciting. That little plushy Grimace that they came out with, Kid Robot put out is super cute. I'm not going to buy it, but it's super cute.
If I ran across those at Target, like they had the other ones, possibly.
Tempting, right? As soon as I see what that looks like, I have a difficult time with plushies because you never know what they're going to really look like or feel like in person.
I will say, though, that their funny line, which is, I believe, what that's a part of, are very well made. I have the Bert and Ernie and Count from Sesame Street. They're very well made.
Yeah. They are super cute. And I have seen those in Target, and I've held them in my hands, and they do look like they're well made. McDonald's seems to be more open lately, or putting themselves out there, at acknowledging their past a little bit more lately. I think that that's because they're seeing that there's some financial reward in advertising themselves in a nostalgic way rather than what they've been trying to do over the last 20 years, which is to modernize their aesthetic or whatever.
Speaking of black box, I mean, that's what their stores are now.
They're beige boxes now. That to me is incredibly lame, but that's maybe a whole other discussion. But I feel like we're on the cusp of what could be an exciting era for McDonald's fans, like people our age who really appreciate the weirdness of the McDonald's restaurants from, the 70s through the 80s. So much so that this is coming up on topics on podcasts recently, like a podcast that I listen to on a regular basis called Podcast The Ride. They're a lot of fun. These three guys geek out about theme parks and stuff and pop culture weirdness. And they've got a whole month dedicated right now to McDonald's. And I think that we're on the cusp of a McDonald land resurgence of interest. They've already, by the time people are listening to this, NECA probably will have released more images of their Ultimates McDonald's character line. They've already previously shown what their Grimace would look like, but I'm hoping that they'll show what the Hamburglar and potentially even Ronald McDonald action figures will look like. They've just released images of their new bobbleheads that they're putting out that are Grimace and the Hamburglar. They've got the Ben Cooper figures, and then they also have these Ultimate figures that are supposed to be coming out too. Kind of like my Pee Wee Herman that's back here, like something that's going to look fairly realistic and be in the 7-inch scale. I'm really excited about this. Lately, it's got to be a powerful hit to that nostalgia nail for me to really get excited about something. And this is going to be exciting, I think. You need to see where it goes.
I was kind of hoping that Kid Robot's part in this would extend beyond the plush figures, but I don't know. I haven't seen anything else. Little vinyl collectibles or something.
I'm a fan of Super 7 reaction figures. And I immediately started thinking, like, if NECA gets a license, often Super 7 will try to get that license, or vice versa, and they'll share that license for a while. Once something becomes very popular, both of those companies have a tendency to get on board and put something out there. And so I'm hoping to see that the interest will actually take hold and that we'll get some interesting products. That's my other thing. I'm wanting to see McDonald Land come back in a very serious way. I want the restaurants to return, the late 70s, early 80s style McDonald's restaurants and McDonald Land playlands to come back because they can do that. They can afford to do that. I want my experience going to McDonald's to get my fried apple pie to also include the immersive experience that the restaurants used to be.
You don't like the little Playland box that they have in the corner of the store?
Have you seen them lately? They are like dead zones. They're like the back rooms. Those Playlands now are like the back rooms.
It's bizarre. It's so uninviting.
It's scary. Like there's no warmth to it. I don't know why any kid would want to go back there. Here's what's really weird to me is the pleasant miniature theme park thing that companies were doing for kids when we were young feels absent today. So we'll see what else San Diego Comic-Con shows us.
Yeah, it's going on right now.
More Sesame Street characters have been announced. They finally put Oscar the Grouch up for pre-order, the Oscar the Grouch NECA Ultimates, and I know that they're doing Muppets now too, so they're really digging deep into the nostalgia basket, and I love this. I have a hard time resisting that Oscar the Grouch, that's for sure.
Well, you've got your New Year's resolution to think about.
Oh, yeah, which I've abandoned quite a bit lately.
I wanted to have record as we went along of that because I knew it wouldn't last forever.
Oh, I made it pretty far, but, I've broken it several times since then. And
She's a cool, blonde, scheming bitch. She make my body twitch. Walking down the corridor, you can hear her stilettos click. I want her so much, I feel sick. The girl can't help it. She really can't help it now.
Alrighty. Well, I mentioned earlier the stuff about music, and we've talked about this in the past, where they have to come back to me. For an example, I had heard a Ministry song in the car with my family that I remember having recorded off the radio back then. Got home, put it on my phone, have it now. And it's happened a couple of times watching a movie or something, and
yes,
I Shazam it, and then now I have record of it and don't have to try and rely on my memory. And then I go the next day and go to the Apple Music Store, download it, put it on my phone, etc., etc. So I was, once again, this isn't something I was looking for, but I was, because of Instagram, I was scrolling through my feed, and a lot of podcast interviews have been coming up recently. Like if you stop and pause and watch one, then as you keep scrolling, they put stuff up instantly.
Yes.
I was scrolling through, and I'm not sure why I stopped. I probably had the sound already on. My default is to have sound off, but I probably listened to something on purpose, and then as I was scrolling, the sound would play on the next thing. I didn't know at the time. I had no idea what this podcast was or who these people were that were talking. The interviewer said to this gal that he was talking to, okay, I have to ask you about this one lyric. And when she was like, oh, you mean makes me cream my jeans?
Can I ask you about the lyric in there that got a lot of attention?
Oh, cream my jeans?
My interest was piqued. And I was like, oh, what's this about? And then they cut to a clip of her quite some time ago singing this song.
It make me cream my jeans when she come my way. Oh, high school confidential.
That lyric came up again, and then the chorus. And I was like, holy fuck, I know this song. This is like that Music Box Dancer thing that I talked about, where Carlita was scrolling through Instagram, totally forgotten song. I immediately recognized it, and recognized it as another one of those songs like the Ministry song that I had recorded off of the radio. So a song would come on, I'd put my tape in if it wasn't already in the machine and hit record and make myself mixtapes, compilation tapes that I would then listen to.
Oh, yeah.
I'm watching this, and, in the description, of course, they have the lady's name, and I think they had shown text on the screen of the song. I knew this. I could figure out the song title by the chorus and the band name. And so I immediately went to YouTube and watched the old video for it, and was absolutely amazed at how much of the lyrics I remembered. This is a song I know that there is absolutely no way I have heard in the last 40 years.
So what's the song?
So it's called High School Confidential, and it was by this band called Rough Trade.
Yes.
And it came out in 80 or 81, I believe. So I'm thinking about this, and the whole point of their conversation was, this is a lady singing this song about a girl who she's attracted to. I'm thinking, oh, I had I thought it was a guy singing this song.
Interesting.
I don't even remember the line, cream my jeans.
Right.
At the time, probably didn't know what it meant. I would have been 11, 12 years old or something.
Yeah.
But I played the whole song and like I could anticipate the next line. It was like no time had passed.
Like no time had passed. God, I love that feeling.
Maybe a year or two, you know? I mean, it was really, really, I must have listened to that song so much as a kid.
Yeah.
On that mixtape I made. I was curious. Carlita's 5 years, a little more than 5 years younger than me. And so I'm thinking, I wonder if she has any recollection of this song. So I played them the video on YouTube and she's like, nah, this is not. And they were kind of like, whoa, this is progressive for 1980, 81. This gal singing about this, not even love, really lust for this girl in high school.
Yeah.
When I see it watching the video, it's like, well, obviously this is a woman singing, but there were plenty of rock bands whose male vocalists didn't particularly have male sounding voices.
Yeah, I mean, and also, especially in the early 80s, there were a lot of men singing falsetto and approaching their on-stage persona in a feminine way. And I mean, in many ways, maybe more then than now, which is kind of odd. That's real. I can see that, yeah.
I mean, Boy George, for one example.
Yeah, Robert Smith.
Very many examples of androgyny even just in the but I had never seen the video, so I had no idea that this was a woman singing. And of course then I'm thinking, damn it, I should have saved that clip. I don't know what the podcast was for or who the interviewer is and anything. So then a few days later I was scrolling through my Explore page and it popped back up and I'm like, oh. So I immediately clicked on it. Gal's name is Carol Pope, was in the band Rough Trade. High School Confidential is the name of the song. I'll be playing clips from it, of course.
Yes.
I believe it's a Canadian broadcasting company podcast called Q.
Okay.
Didn't catch the interviewer's name, but that is where this came from. Those things, that and like Music Box Dancer and even the Ministry song, it's so weird to me to have those experiences of something I'm not looking for that is so extremely familiar once you hear it or see it or whatever. It's weird how the mind, I mean, it completely unlocked the whole song for me listening through it. I had to have listened to this a ton. How do you hold on to that 40 years later?
It's incredible. One of my first experiences with this being a happenstance discovery of music that I had memorized from beginning to end, an entire album that I was obsessed with that I'd totally forgotten about, was the band Yaz from the 80s, and didn't even know that it was buried in my brain. And then I happened across it on social media or something, and then looked up the album on YouTube and then played the whole album, and it was like no time has passed.
Yeah, it's weird.
I know where I was when I was listening to this. I'm realizing I had this on cassette. All these memories come flooding back, and that's remarkable to me. The losing of a memory and the regaining of that memory from an outside cue.
This mixtape thing represents a pretty small window of time for me, because then once I got into like Devo and the Beatles and the Doors and
start buying albums,
Talking Heads, and was buying my own music, and then converting to being able to drive and then buying tapes.
Yeah.
And I probably didn't really take those mixtapes that I had made with me. It's all late 70s, early 80s stuff. That was sort of the only option to hear a song over and over again, is to tape it off KKDJ when you hear it, you know?
Yeah. I used to put my little tape recorder next to the TV and record movie soundtracks, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And there are songs like The Knack, My Sharona, which...
Oh, yeah,
It was ubiquitous when it came. It was played almost every time I went in the car. And like something like that, I'm not going to forget.
Yeah.
But this song had a very short lifespan in my brain.
And probably on the radio.
Yeah, but made such an impression, or I listened to it enough times to where, I mean, I really knew the lyrics. It was boggling my mind.
Yeah.
Cleo's like, oh, well, that's going to be in your car next week when I'm driving around with you.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't even know if they'll have this on Apple Music, but they did. Had the whole album. I downloaded that song, and it's now on my phone.
I love it.
I wait for these things to show up on Shuffle, because I just shuffle through my catalog in my car. That's the way I listen to music.
I love that. Music is such a autobiographical element for us. Sometimes we need little nudges like that to remind us. Like I've been listening a lot to the Pixies again lately, and so many memories of hanging out with you and listening to the Pixies just kept flooding back. You basically, I knew about the Pixies, but I wasn't really into the Pixies until you came around in my life, and I got really into them because of you. And so that's always a fond relationship to those albums by them. Tom Waits said, music is just another way to play with the air. That's true, but also it's a way to play with time and memory.
Oh, yeah.
Music is like a way to harness ghosts. It's really incredible. This
very much
intangible thing that just does a number on our brains.
Yeah, it's very much like smell. Smell is probably the strongest connector to memory.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you travel somewhere you haven't been in forever and you start smelling those smells, it's like, oh, yeah. And then all this stuff comes back. So it's kind of like that. Hearing these songs that you have completely erased from your brain. And like, when was the moment that disappeared from my thoughts or my memories?
Yeah.
A long, long time ago. A long time ago.
I blame a lot of that on hormones. So many of my memories about media and my ingrained nostalgic drive comes from previous to puberty. And then after that, all those memories are about heartbreak, bad decisions, stupid behavior, puberty through my 20s. And then beginning in the 30s, it's sort of like a return to that mindset or that thinking or those interests that existed before you got dumb. And when I'm thinking about my life...
Ronnie is specifically talking about himself here now, not me.
No. the use of... That's the second person you. That's not referring to Mark, but referring to me.
He's talking about personal experience of his own at this point.
Yeah,
folks.
that's just that's the footnote there for everybody.
The opinions expressed in the commentary on this are those of the person themselves and not related to Cambridge and Wishon in general. Yeah. So don't sue us.
And also, they might be fluid, too. They may change by the next time we record. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Lost and found. Is that the theme of today's episode? Seems like it. But it also seems to be, it keeps coming back.
I'm going to give you a clue. I don't know when I'll talk about this, but I've got one more movie. And this wasn't a 30 or 40 year search. I figured this one out pretty quickly, but it was the same experience, basically. Something I caught on Action Theater. Didn't know the title of. My memories of that one were much clearer. Like when I finally saw the movie again, I was like, oh yeah, that's exactly how I remembered it. And I'll just clue you in. It's a Hammer film. One of their horror movies.
Curse of the Werewolf.
Nope. Werewolf would have been easy to figure out, but no.
Yeah.
It's not a werewolf or a vampire movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's exciting. I can't wait.
I had a bunch of movie books back in the late 80s and poured through the descriptions in all of them, hundreds of pages with thousands of listings of movies, mainly horror movies, trying to find like a description that matched what was in my head. I believe that's how I found it, but I'm spent a lot of time doing that pre-internet to try and figure it out.
I love it. I can't wait.
Yeah, eventually. I'll hold off on that one.
We're going to make our 5 listeners wait.
Yeah. All right, man. Take us out. I feel like we're done here.
Okay. Remember, folks, until we meet again, Mark is done. He's actually walked out of the room several times. Remember, folks, until we meet again, have fun, and please stay weird and keep collecting, even if it's just memories.
Yeah.
So, thanks for being here.
Yeah. Collect those. Keep them. Try and keep track of them if you can.
Yeah, put them in your briefcase, put them in your side pack with your VCR, and carry that gigantic beta camera around with you everywhere you go.
Yeah, and film your Movie Land experience.
That's right. That's right.
What's the principal doing with her? Who's that guy? Is he screwing with her? What's her perfume? Tigress by Fabergé. It make me cream my jeans when she come my way. Oh, high school confidential. school confidential.
Josh, I'm going to have to tell him. About my weirdness? I'm sorry, Josh.
Cambridge and Rashawn is a Weirding Way Media podcast.